You want a real conversation? Let's talk about what's actually happening in Cleveland right now, because this isn't just about football anymore. This is about ego, power, and a head coach who might be making the biggest mistake of his career while everyone watches in real time. Jeudy just said what the entire locker room has been thinking for months. When a veteran receiver basically tells the media he has no idea what the coaching staff was doing with their quarterback situation, that's not just honesty, that's a red flag waving so hard it might take flight. And the wildest part? He's absolutely right to question it. Look at what actually happened here. The Browns spent training camp rotating between 4 different quarterbacks like they were trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Joe Flacco got reps. Kenny Pickett got reps. Dylan Gabriel got reps. And Shedeur Sanders, the guy with the highest ceiling, the most buzz, and probably the most natural talent, he sat there watching like he was auditioning for a spot on the practice squad instead of being treated like the potential franchise quarterback he actually is. Now Flacco's gone to Cincinnati. Pickett's out of the picture, and suddenly everyone's looking around asking what the point of all that was. Jeudy couldn't even call it a waste of time without stumbling over his words because he knows the truth would sound even worse. That's the position Kevin Stefanski has put his players in. They're out here doing media gymnastics, trying to defend decisions that don't make any sense. Here's what nobody's saying out loud, but everyone knows. Stefanski is coaching scared. Not scared of losing games, scared of losing control. He's built his entire identity around being the smart guy in the room, the one with the plan, the one who sees things others don't. But what happens when the plan doesn't work? What happens when the analytics say one thing, but the reality on the field says something completely different? You get this mess. Dylan Gabriel just threw 52 passes against Pittsburgh. 52. He took 6 sacks. Averaged 4 yards per attempt. The offense looked like it was moving through quicksand. And after all that, Stefanski stood at the podium and basically said, nothing's changing. He's sticking with his guy. He's confident. He's going down with this ship, even if it means taking the entire franchise with him. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is sitting right there on the roster, not asking for anything, not causing problems, just existing. And somehow that's too much for Stefanski to handle, because here's the thing about Shedeur that makes old school coaches uncomfortable. He's not just a quarterback, he's a presence. He walks into rooms and changes the energy. He's got the swagger, the confidence, the media training, the name recognition. He's everything modern football values and everything traditional coaching fears. Stefanski looks at Shedeur and doesn't see a weapon. He sees a threat to his authority, a threat to his system, a threat to the carefully constructed hierarchy he spent years building. Because if Shedeur comes in and succeeds, what does that say about all those decisions Stefanski made? What does it say about the 4 quarterback rotation? What does it say about his evaluation process? So instead of embracing what could be Cleveland's best chance at relevance in years, he's digging in, doubling down, pretending like the noise doesn't exist. But the noise is getting louder. Jeudy just turned the volume up, and once players start speaking out, even carefully, even diplomatically, that's when you know the locker room is fracturing. Think about what Jeudy actually said. He didn't throw anyone under the bus directly. He didn't call out Stefanski by name, but he didn't have to. Everyone who heard those words understood exactly what he meant. The subtext was screaming, we wasted time, we ran a circus, and now we're paying for it. That's not the kind of thing veteran players say when they believe in the direction of the team. And you can feel the frustration building, not just from Jeudy, from everyone watching this unfold, because Cleveland had a chance to do something different this year. They drafted Jeudy Sanders knowing exactly who he was, knowing about his dad, knowing about the attention he'd bring, knowing about the pressure and the spotlight. They knew all of it and they drafted him anyway. So what was the plan? Keep him buried on the depth chart? Hope nobody notices? Pretend like the national media wouldn't be asking questions every single week? That's not a strategy, that's wishful thinking. And now it's blowing up in their faces because you can't put that kind of talent in a box and expect it to stay quiet. Shedeur isn't some project quarterback who needs 3 years to develop. He's not a raw athlete who needs to learn the position. He's been preparing for this his entire life. He's been coached by Deion Sanders. He's played in pressure situations. He's been on the biggest stages in college football. And he's done it all with cameras following his every move. This is not a kid who's gonna crumble under NFL pressure. But Stefanski treats him like he's fragile, like he needs protecting, like the NFL is too big, too fast, too complicated for someone like Shedeur Shedeur to handle. And that's insulting, not just to Shedeur, but to everyone who's watched him play, because what we've seen from Shedeur is someone who elevates in big moments, someone who performs better when the stakes are higher, someone who wants that pressure. Dillon Gabriel is a solid quarterback. Nobody's saying he isn't. But solid doesn't move the needle in Cleveland. Solid doesn't change the narrative. Solid doesn't make the Browns must-watch television. Shedeur does all of those things just by existing. And Stefanski is treating that like it's a problem instead of an opportunity. What's really happening here is a clash of football philosophies. Stefanski represents the old guard, the coaches who believe in process over personality, who think discipline and structure win championships, who want players to fit the system rather than building the system around the players. That worked in a different era, but this isn't that era anymore. Modern football is about stars, about moments, about players who transcend the game and become cultural icons. Patrick Mahomes isn't just a great quarterback, he's a brand. Josh Allen isn't just talented, he's a phenomenon. Lamar Jackson changed what people thought was possible at the position. These guys didn't succeed by fitting into traditional systems. They succeeded by forcing teams to adapt to them. Shedeur Sanders is built for that kind of impact. He's got the talent, he's got the mindset, he's got the platform. And Cleveland is wasting it because their head coach is more worried about maintaining control than maximizing potential. That's how you lose locker rooms. That's how you lose fan bases. And eventually, that's how you lose your job. Jerry Jeudy knows this. He's been around long enough to see how this movie ends. He's played for different teams. He's seen coaching changes. He's watched careers get derailed by stubbornness and ego. So when he speaks up, even carefully, it's because he sees the writing on the wall, and he doesn't want to be part of another wasted season. The Browns are 1-4 right now. The offense looks lost. The quarterback situation is a mess. And every week that passes without change is another week closer to this season becoming unsalvageable. But Stefanski keeps saying the same things. We need to execute better. We need to be cleaner. We're confident in our guys. It's coach speak that sounds hollow when the results keep getting worse. What makes this even more frustrating is that Cleveland fans deserve better. These people have suffered through decades of incompetence. They've watched their team get relocated. They've endured endless rebuilds. They've celebrated draft picks like Super Bowl victories because they've had nothing else to celebrate. And now when they finally have something exciting, something with real potential, the coach won't unleash it. Imagine being a Browns fan right now. You spent the entire offseason hyped about Shedeur Sanders. You watched all the college highlights, you read all the articles, you convinced yourself that maybe this time it's different, and then the season starts and he's invisible. Not because he's not good enough, but because the coach decided he knows better than everyone else. That's betrayal, not the dramatic kind, the slow, disappointing kind that's somehow worse. It's watching potential get wasted in real time. It's knowing your team has the tools to be exciting and choosing boring instead. It's Cleveland football in its purest form, finding new ways to disappoint even when hope seems justified. And here's the kicker. Stefanski thinks he's protecting the team. He thinks he's being smart by not giving in to the noise. But what he's actually doing is creating more noise. Every week Shedeur doesn't play is another week of questions. Another week of national media debating the decision. Another week of fans getting more frustrated. The distraction he's trying to avoid, he's actually manufacturing. If he had just committed to Shedeur from the start, win or lose, at least there would be clarity. At least the narrative would be about the future instead of about dysfunction. But now it's about both. The team is losing and there's internal drama brewing. That's the worst combination possible in professional sports. And you know what's coming next. If Dillon Gabriel struggles again this week, and he probably will because the offensive line is struggling and the play calling is predictable, the pressure is going to intensify. Media members will get louder. Fans will get angrier, and more players might start echoing what Jerry Jeudy said. Not directly, not obviously, but in those careful, measured answers that say everything without saying anything. That's when locker rooms fracture, not through big dramatic blowups, but through small cracks that keep spreading. Players stop believing in the coach. They start playing for themselves instead of the team. Effort becomes inconsistent. The culture deteriorates. And before you know it, you're looking at a lost season and a coaching change. Stefanski might think he's too smart for that to happen. He's got his schemes and his analytics and his process. But football isn't played on spreadsheets. It's played by humans with egos and emotions and opinions. And when those humans stop buying what you're selling, nothing else matters. Shedeur Sanders represents everything Stefanski isn't. He's bold where Stefanski is careful. He's flashy where Stefanski is conservative. He's new school where Stefanski is old school. And instead of finding a way to blend those qualities into something special, Stefanski is choosing sides. He's choosing his way over the potentially better way. And that's pride disguised as principle. The really tragic part is that this didn't have to be complicated. Draft the talented quarterback. Give him the keys. Let him learn through playing. Support him through mistakes. Build the offense around his strengths. That's how you develop franchise quarterbacks in the modern NFL. But Stefanski can't do that because it would mean admitting his system isn't more important than the player. So instead we get this weird limbo where everyone knows what should happen, but nobody with power is willing to make it happen. And Jeudy just exposed how ridiculous that is. Not through malice, through honesty, through saying what everyone else is thinking but too afraid to vocalize. This story isn't over, it's just getting started, because the longer Stefanski waits, the worse the optics become. And the worse the optics become, the harder it is to maintain authority. He's painted himself into a corner and he doesn't even realize it yet. Or maybe he does and he's just too stubborn to find the exit. Either way, Cleveland loses. The fans lose, the players lose. And Shedeur Sanders sits there watching his rookie season slip away while the coach who's supposed to develop him treats him like a problem to be managed instead of a solution to be unleashed. That's not just bad coaching, that's organizational malpractice. And Jeudy just became the whistleblower nobody expected but everyone needed.